Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Chelsea and I'm a mom to 6 kiddos. Over on my community tab today, I said, hey guys, I just want to sit down with you guys today and just chit chat. So what do you want to talk about? And I gave some options and said if you have any other ideas, you can comment about them. And it's been up for about 2.5 hours and I want to go ahead and get this filmed. So I'm going with what has the most votes right now. But if I picked what you didn't vote for, don't worry, because I'm just going to go down the list and talk about all those things in different videos anyway. I just kind of wanted to get the feel of what you guys really want to hear about. So today the option that won was my teen pregnancy story. So that'll be fun to talk about. If you hear baby jabbers, that is Hudson. He is my 5-month-old and he is baby number 6. And he's down here laying on a blanket, playing with toys and talking. So if you hear babbling, that is him. Anyway, let's get started on our topic. So, I've talked about it before that I had, 2 kids actually in my teens, but I've never really gotten into the story. Don't think so anyway. Pretty sure I've never really gotten deep into the story there. So, my 2 kiddos that me and Aaron had, we are the parents of both of our children, so I didn't have a child in my teens by anyone else. Me and Aaron are the parents of all of our children biologically. Anyway, they are now 13 and 12, almost 14, and 12. So, yeah, we'll just go back to the very beginning, okay? Me and Aaron started dating when I was 15 and he was 17. We knew each other before then, like 14 and 16, but we started dating at 15 and 17. We knew each other, we had friends that were friends of each other, and we just knew each other, but we weren't real close. And then one day at a football game, I asked him to go to a dance with me, and he said, why? I said, hey, you gonna go to the dance? And he said, well, why would I? And I said, so you can dance with me. And he said, okay. He went to that dance, and from that dance until now, we have been together, planned to stay that way. So we started dating at 15 and 17. And I was raised growing up to believe you should wait for sex until marriage, and I was young and we don't always make the best decisions, and I was on birth control, the patch, and it didn't always stay on, and I would just slap that thing back on and didn't know any better and thought it would work. So when I was 17, we found out we were expecting Melissa, and it was kind of a weird gut thing. I had not yet even missed my period, and I just had this weird random thought of, what if I was pregnant? Like, I didn't have any signs, I wasn't yet late, I was expecting it that week, and I just for some reason had this like, what if I was? Take a pregnancy test. So I went out by myself and bought me a pregnancy test. I remember being so embarrassed and so like ashamed and nervous, and like, if anyone asks me, I'm gonna say I'm buying this for someone else, like no one can know this. So I went out, I didn't even tell Aaron, I don't think, that I was going to buy it. I don't think I did. So anyway, went out and bought one, took it at home, and it just like slowly went up. But as soon as it hit, those lines it needs to hit, both of them said, yes, you're pregnant. And I was just, oh my goodness. And I had bought 2, so I went ahead and took the other one right then and there, and it said pregnant also. And oh, I remember being so nervous and scared and didn't know what to do. And I remember just like dropping things, like, 'cause my hands were shaking. And I told Aaron, and he was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And everything. And I thought, I don't know. And he thought, well, you need to go, like, those tests probably don't work. Those at-home tests, they're probably no good. You should go to the doctor and find out. And I was like, go to the doctor and find out? I'd have to tell my mom, and my mom doesn't even know, like, we're sexually active and all that stuff. So, but I remember, and this is so mean of me, I took my pregnancy test and I wrapped it up in Walmart bags, like layers and layers of Walmart bags, and then I went and I threw it over my neighbor's fence. I'm very embarrassed of that now, but I was 17. I was just afraid my mom might somehow, I don't know, dig in the garbage and find it, which of course she wouldn't. But that's what I did. And so then I went to our health department here in town, because I knew you could have one done for free, and they said no. And so Aaron was like, oh, see, I told you you weren't. And I was like, that can't be right. So me and my friend dug up our change, went to Walmart, bought some more, and they said yes. I took so many pregnancy tests with Melissa, it was ridiculous. So they said yes, and so I knew I had to tell my mom. So I kind of fielded her out first. I said my friend was pregnant, and she kind of gave me advice on what I could tell my friend. And then a couple of days later, I just knew I had to tell her. So I did tell her, and it was one of the probably the scariest things I've ever done, was telling her that. I was so just embarrassed and nervous. I didn't know what she would say. I was scared already. Like, what do I do? And Aaron was my first like real serious boyfriend. Obviously I was 15 and I was 17 at the time, and you know, everything was going fine with us. But still, we're young and we were just kids. And anyway, and she had lots of things to say to me. But when she was done saying all the things that she needed to say to me, she said, you know what, give me a week. I need a week to process it. And yes, I'm upset and I'm not happy with you, but in a week from now, we will go shopping for baby things. And that's what we did. She was angry with me and upset, and all the things that I can understand now as a mom I would be. You know, I have a daughter that's almost 14. I can't even imagine. Not that it's the end of the world, not that it was the best thing to do, but I wouldn't go back in time and change it now. I can't imagine my life any other way. And I did have some people suggest abortion, and I believe in life at conception, and I believed in life at conception at 17. I believed that that little blob, as some people might call it, it had a heartbeat, and it was mine, and it was a life, and it was mine to protect and take care of. And so I never, and Aaron felt the same exact way. We never questioned it together, never talked about it. I think adoption's a great choice for some people, but I knew that this was my baby and I wanted to keep it and love it. So yeah, so what I did was I had to tell my school counselors. We went to a very, very, very small school. News travels fast. Turns out I was actually one of 3 girls, in another in my class and one right above us. We were all pregnant at the same time, due like bam, 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 which is kind of weird. We weren't even all friends or anything like that. So at least I wasn't the only one, but news did travel fast, and small town, and there was teachers that you could tell judged and everything, and you know, that's fine. It hurts your feelings at the time, but it is what it is. So me and my guidance counselor at my high school worked it out to where it was my junior year of high school, and where I would go to school all day long for my junior credit, and then I would go back to evening school with like the kids who maybe failed and things like that, and I would take my senior class credits at night to maybe try to get both my years done at once so I could graduate early and be done. So halfway through the school year, I started contracting a whole lot, and my doctor said I really needed to start taking it easier. I needed to quit the night school, and I was so disappointed. And I can just for reference, I was taking AP classes in high school. I had big hopes and dreams. I found in a journal the other day, we went through my mom's attic, that I planned on going to college in New York, which I do remember wanting to do that, and becoming a journalist, which I think still sounds really fun. And that was my plans and hopes and dreams and all that, and I didn't even plan on getting married till I was much older, and just, you know, maybe having a kid or two. Funny how things change. But anyway, my doctor told me I needed to quit the evening classes, and I was very disappointed because I wanted to graduate. I needed to graduate. I'm the only kid, my mom has 3 kids in my family, to have a college degree. Not a college degree, a high school degree. I do have 2 brothers, and one of them has some college credits, but he didn't actually get his diploma. That's what the word is, diploma. He got his GED. But anyway, so I just felt like I needed to, I had to, I really wanted to. It was very important to me to get my high school diploma, but I had to quit. So I was like, okay, that just means I'm gonna have to go to some classes after Melissa's born. So anyway, and with Melissa, I didn't have any health issues. I did get ginormous, and I remember I couldn't fit in the desk anymore. It was the desk connected to the chair, and I'd have to sit sideways in class. Luckily, all my friends were very sweet. There were some hard things. I know, you know, all my friends would go out and do fun things, and I'd always be kind of tired or kind of sick, and so I got distant a lot from some of my friends. And Aaron, we had a few struggles, not a whole lot. He would sometimes still want to go out and do those fun things, and he would, and I wouldn't, because I felt like a mom already, and I didn't want to be going out and doing some of those things. I wanted to, you know, be at home resting my feet and, you know, eating all my vegetables. So we had a few struggles, obviously nothing we couldn't work through. We worked through all those, but it wasn't the easiest. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend it, but I wouldn't change it either. So there were some hard things. I was very tired in class, but I kept up with my grades and all of my work. Melissa was due around spring break, and I was very glad because then I could have, my school was going to give me 4 weeks off, and Aaron brought my homework home to me during those 4 weeks, and then spring break was about 2 weeks, so I had 6 weeks off. And Aaron brought all my homework home to me, and they allowed 4 weeks before I had to start that homework, and then as long as I stayed caught up. So I remember sitting, like, I would cradle Melissa in my lap as I sat crisscross applesauce and would like do homework, or I would just like do one-handed because I never put Melissa down. Anyway, she was due during spring break, and my mom is very natural minded, and she was very big on breastfeeding, and she had all of her babies naturally, so I knew that's what I wanted to do also. It sounded like the way to go to me. I do remember right before she was born, I would watch on like TLC, they would have like bringing home baby and just, you know, labor and delivery stories, and I watched those all day long. I took, I think the last week before she was born, I just stayed home. I did not feel good. And I stayed home, and luckily I went to a very small school. I'm very blessed to have gone to that school. They worked with me very well through the whole situation. But like I said, I did have to quit my night school. But anyway, so I stayed home the week before, and I watched all those, and I remember thinking, there's no way this baby's not coming out. She's staying in. I'm not doing any of that. I was very scared. And the day, this is kind of Melissa's birth story, isn't it? I won't go too much into birth stories, but the day before I had Melissa, I was having contractions, and I thought, I'm going to go see Aaron. He had spiral meningitis, and I had not seen him in weeks because I did not want to get it. Turns out he didn't have the kind that is contagious, and so he was allowed to be in the labor and delivery room and everything. Do you want to come up here and say hi? And so anyway, I went to see him having contractions. My mom was like, that's not a good idea, you shouldn't. But I was 18. I turned 18 8 days before she was born. And I was like so proud of that. Like, see, I'm an adult now, I'm 18, it's fine. Went to see him, ended up coming home having contractions, missed a stoplight because I couldn't hit the brake pedal and everything. Got home. I don't want to go too much into Melissa's birth story, so I'll save that for a different day. Anyway, we had Melissa, and then I was living with my mom. Aaron was living with his family, and he stayed with us for a little bit after Melissa was born, but then he needed to go home. He still lived there with his parents, and that was a struggle. And I remember crying and crying and crying when he went home. I just wanted us to be a family. I didn't want us to be separated. I was very upset. It was hard. But he would come, and he would spend some days like with me at my mom's house, and then he would go home some days and still would come see Melissa even on the days where he slept at his house. But then he'd have some days where he stayed at my house. And we didn't get married. And I didn't get married for silly reasons, and I wish I could go back and again also change that. I did not want anyone to think that we got married because we got pregnant. It was like a pride thing. Like, if I love Aaron, I want to marry Aaron. It's not because I'm pregnant, so I'm not going to marry him to show everyone that I'm not getting married just because I got pregnant, which is kind of silly, but that's the way it went. So we did not get married. We just kept living. Like, he would come see me at my mom's house, and he would go back to his house. And I would do my school from home and send it. And when it was time for me to finally go back to school, like the next school year, so summer passed, time for me to go back, I went one day, and she was like, what, 4 or 5 months old, and I only went half a day actually. They said I could come half a day. I could not do it. I could not be gone from my baby. I worried the whole time. It was awful. So we worked out a way for me to complete night school with a different school that worked in the night school system. All the schools kind of shared the responsibility of it, and they actually said I could complete the courses at home, and I finished the other half of my high school work in a matter of weeks. So I had half a year's worth of schoolwork to do. I had to go up to the school a couple of times for big tests, but they let me do the rest at home on a CD, and I just kind of worked my butt off, and I finished in a few weeks. Finished the rest of the school year, and then I graduated with my class when I was supposed to at the end of the year. But you see, before we could get to the end of the year, we found out we were expecting Natalee. So Melissa was 9 months old, so I would have still been 18, and we found out we were expecting Natalee. And Aaron was the one who thought I was. He kept saying, "You're really cranky. I think you're pregnant." And I said, "Don't be silly." And I was breastfeeding, so and I had been on the mini pill and then off the mini pill, and my hormones were all wacky, and my periods were inconsistent. And he said, "I think you might be pregnant. You have to be pregnant. You're cranky." And I kept saying, "No way, no way, no way." And then finally one day I was like, fine, I'm gonna take one just to show you that I'm not. At this point, he's still kind of living at his house and coming to visit and going back and forth and everything. And so finally one day I took one just to prove to him I'm not. And it said I was. And I was already, what, 3 months pregnant, because I did not believe. So her pregnancy went by incredibly fast. And I won't go into her birth story either, because I really want to do separate videos on birth stories for those 2 kids, because I've done one for all my other kids. But her pregnancy went so fast, because I was 3 months when I found out, and I was so busy keeping up with Melissa. Yeah, huh. But anyway, so I had already finished my school by the time I had Natalee. And I worked some part-time for my uncle. Aaron worked, and the way it kind of worked was my mom fed me and paid all the house bills. I didn't have to worry about that. And Aaron worked, and he paid for baby supplies. So it was just a very kind of, my mom was very supportive. I'm very appreciative of her help. Don't know what I would have done without that. But she, you know, fed me and clothed me, and I breastfed, so I didn't need a lot of things for Melissa. And my mom also bought things for Melissa as well, just because it was her, you know, grandbaby, and we were living there, and she was supportive. But Aaron would give me money for, or would buy diapers and certain things I needed like that, like certain clothes and baby gear and stuff like that. So we ended up, let's see, let me get my mind right. It's been a long time. Found out I was pregnant with Natalee. I went and I graduated. It's so funny. I was very pregnant. I graduated in May. I had Natalee in September. She was due in October, so I was about halfway. A little more than halfway. So you could definitely tell. Had a baby bump. And I remember everyone thinking I was so crazy. Like, what? I show up to graduation because I wasn't going to school, so my teachers didn't see me. Not everybody knew. You know, my friends knew, but not the whole class. So I showed up to graduation with Melissa on my hip, who was, you know, not even 1. Oh no, she had just turned 1. She was 14 months old and a big old belly. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, you guys are having another baby. And it was the big talk of the town. So all my graduation pictures, the gown kind of hides it, but you can see me holding little Melissa here, belly on my lap, Aaron on my side. And that is how I graduated high school. But I graduated, and I'm very proud that I stuck it through and accomplished my goal. It is doable, even with little ones. You can get that done. And I've done college with, you know, Liam on my lap bouncing him, so it can be done. And then before Natalee was born, let's see, Melissa, around the time I found out I was pregnant, really, with Natalee, was it around a little bit earlier, Aaron got an apartment. And I wasn't sure I wanted to move out from my mom yet. And my mom wasn't sure that I should move out. And I think without her support of like, yes, go ahead and move out with Aaron, it was hard for me to. She really wanted me to stay home. She felt like let him kind of experience life on his own for a little bit. And you stay home with me and have the support of me before you just jump out there. And I did for a little bit, but not for very long. And I just felt like, no, I mean, he doesn't need to go out and experience life on his own for a little bit. He has a family. We are a family, and we should be together. And so I think it was only a couple of months where he was at the apartment and I was at my mom's house, and he would do the thing where he would come stay with us for a little bit, stay at the apartment for a little bit, and we would go over there and stay. So it was really like we had an apartment and would stay, but then we would come back to my house and stay and just go back and forth. So I ended up going ahead and moving me and Melissa over to the apartment full time. And so we had, you know, memories there of us in our little apartment, Melissa toddling around and everything, and I wasn't working. Aaron was working, and he worked in the city, and we drove some little beat up car with no air conditioning. It was my car from high school. I don't know how that worked out that way, because he used to have a truck. I don't know. I don't remember. And so yeah, he would drive the city. You're not used to my area. We live in a town, and we have a bigger town that's about 45 minutes away, and we call it the city here where I'm from. We call that the city. I'm not really in the country, but anyway. So we lived there, and we even had a friend, a roommate for a while, and all kinds of stuff. Well, we were young, and we weren't always the smartest, and we didn't, Aaron was in charge of like the bills and the rent and all that, whereas now I am. It just kind of falls in my territory. But when we started out, that was not the case. He was in charge of all that. And I didn't really pay attention to money. Like, yeah, I would buy the food and bring it home, and that's all I thought about. And we were young, you know. I was still 18. No, had I turned 19? 19, pregnant with Natalee. So he would have been 21, but mentally, you know, 19 and 21 is not that old. And so we kind of fell behind on payments of the apartment. I realized what was kind of happening, and I tried to catch us up, and it didn't work out, and we got kicked out of those apartments. It's very embarrassing, but that's life. We were kids. Luckily, my mom had a rent house, and the renters who were living in it were about to move out. And so we went and we lived with my mom for a month. And we had all of our stuff that we had collected in that apartment in my old bedroom of that house. and I was pregnant and we had Lissa and so much stuff. Oh my goodness. And then the rent house that she owned became available. And with Natalee, I kept having contractions real early, and I was put on bed rest, and my midwife really did not want me to move. But I knew we needed to get into that house before the baby came. I really wanted to bring her home to our own home. Once you moved out of your house, it's real hard to go back to it. And we just really needed our own place and our own space for 2 babies, and we just needed to get on with life and be grown-ups and do the deal. That was how I felt. So I told my midwife, I won't lift a finger, everyone will move. And she was like, I know you, that's not how it'll be. And I was like, no, I promise. And it was true. I don't think I lifted very many fingers. I am stubborn, but I think I sat and watched everyone move. So everyone moved for us, and we got into our little house, and Aaron and his brother painted Melissa and Natalee's room pink, and it just felt like finally we could be mature adults, we could make our payments, we could have our babies. And you know, looking back now, I can still see we were very young, but we did it. And then my contractions picked up, I think just from the stress of moving. I was put on bed rest again. And they weren't really stopping. So I went in and ended up having Natalee that night. And we brought her home the next day to our house that we had just kind of moved into. It seemed so sweet and cute and, and all that. It was just a little 2-bedroom house. And yeah, and I was 19 and Aaron was 21, and we had our 2 kiddos. And I felt very happy. I remember sitting in bed with Natalee and just feeling so complete and happy, and having my 2 little girls there. It was a hard transition going from 1 to 2 and being young, but I remember feeling older. And I remember when I finally turned 30, what, a year and a half ago? Am I 31? I'm 31, almost 32. Being like, oh, thank goodness, I'm finally 30. I have felt 30 since I was 19, and I can finally say I'm 30 and not always be the youngest mom everywhere I go. But yeah, so like I said, I had already completed high school, had my 2 babies. Aaron graduated the year before me, and he worked, and we did not make very much money. I'm not ashamed to say we, at that time, we got food stamps, and I used to go get WIC, which is like help for women, infants, children. And we had that assistance for a couple of years before we disqualified out of it. But yeah, we needed that assistance and we got it. I did not want to go to work. I wanted to stay home and raise my babies, and I did, and we made it work on 1 income. And you know, we don't get that assistance now, but we still make it work on 1 income. It is very doable. And we did face, like I said, it wasn't always peachy keen. The story might make it seem that way. We had to learn to grow up together, and we're both very strong-willed, strong-minded, opinionated, stubborn people. You can ask anybody. That's why all of our kids are stubborn. Me and Aaron are very stubborn. And we had to learn to grow up together, and we are not the same people we were as we were kids. So you have to learn to love who they were when you fell in love with them, and love who they are as they grow, and love who they become. And that's a process. My camera's blinking at me. And it's a lot of work, and we had struggles, nothing huge, nothing that ever, you know, tore us apart, just some struggles that we probably would have had just being teenagers and dating anyway. But then you add responsibility and children onto it, and it just makes it more risky, and you have to put your feet down and decide, I want to fight for you, and you want to fight for me, and we want to fight for them, and we're going to make it work. And we didn't, like I said, nothing huge, just little arguments, little trials, just watching the other one grow up and trying to help each other to do that. Because we grow and we go through phases, and you're not always at the same level growth-wise. And so you have some struggles there. But it all worked out. I'm very glad it did. We chose to have Liam, almost 2 years later, we chose to get pregnant with Liam. We were ready for another baby. We really wanted a boy. But yeah, we didn't make a lot of money. We made it work. I remember when Aaron was on unemployment once because the plant he worked at shut down, and we just made enough to pay our rent and then use our food stamp money to buy food. And our entertainment was we would drive to a park with our little bit of gas money in our very crappy car and go for a walk every day. And or go to the lake. We would sometimes go to the lake and just sit. And looking back now, that's some of our favorite memories. is those really hard times that seem like, how are we going to get through this? We look back at it now and we're like, do you remember when you got to be home every day and we would play all day long? It was so much fun. So we had some hard times and some struggles in there, and we still do, and we still will, because that's life. Life has struggles. But looking back, some of those struggles are some of our favorite parts. And we're just both, and Aaron's parents, you know, they were supportive of keeping all the babies as well. Oh, he doesn't want to be put down. And I'm very thankful for that support. My mom was so sweet. She would always take me to go get Melissa's pictures done as a baby, and she would pay for them. Melissa has the most pictures out of anybody. She's got pictures at like 6 weeks, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, all the months. Such a cutie. And she would come and sit with the baby so I could, you know, take a shower or a bath and keep me out. I remember the first time I ever went out by myself with Melissa and Natalee. I think Natalee was like 4 months old, and I'd always been with my mom or Aaron when I went out, and I felt like such a grown-up in Walmart, and I went and bought bows and food and little baby clothes, and I felt like such a grown-up. But anyway, that is my teen pregnancy story. I didn't sit down and think about anything I was going to say beforehand, so it's probably very scattered. I'm sure I will sit down as I'm editing and think, I wish I would have said this and I wish I would have said that. But I think the point of the story is, didn't plan on having babies early. Didn't plan on having one teen pregnancy, let alone 2. Me and Aaron were just kids having fun and dating. We were very serious from the get-go, but we weren't planning on starting our life together that way. And I'm very glad it happened that way. Now, do I tell my kids, I really hope you get pregnant at 17? No. I hope that they can start their life off a little smoother and easier without the stress. But I wouldn't change, like I said, a thing, and I think that it's okay to grow up early if that's your plot in life, if that's what happens to you. We found out we were expecting Melissa, and I just knew it was time to grow up. Did I grow up instantly? No. Did I still do some young childish things? I wish I could go back now and be like, you look stupid, don't do that. Of course. And I'm sure when I'm 60 I'll look back at me now and think the same thing. But life is always doable. Find support. If you can't find support in your family, because they won't always be supportive, try to find support in your friends. If they're not supportive, find new friends, find new family, find support. I'm going to link in the comments below a couple of support businesses that they have out and about to help you if you find yourself pregnant at a very young age, or maybe just in a really rough position. There are plenty of places that are out there that can help you with your prenatal needs and with your baby's needs. I happen to be blessed with a mom and a now husband who we all work together, and we made a really good team, the 3 of us, and we raised 2 very lovely little ladies together, and it worked out. Not everyone has that support, even when it comes to, you know, at the time Aaron was my boyfriend. He could have been very unsupportive. He could have just left. He could have wanted an abortion. He could have wanted adoption, things that I did not want. I feel like God paired us together, and I know that might sound cheesy, but I do, because like I said, we're nothing like we were as teenagers, but there must be some core truths to us that are still the same, because somehow we have turned into adults that have a lot of the same ideas and feelings and wants and beliefs that are big, that weren't ever even discussed as teenagers who were dating. Our core values and beliefs are very much similar, and I'm very thankful for that. And I do think that God brought us together, and even though we were, you know, living in sin, God calls lots of people who lived in sin to great things. So why can't he have called us to build a family together? Even if we didn't start where we should have started, we try to be where we need to be now. And I'm thankful every day for that. Me and him say that all the time, how thankful we are that we are people who still mesh well together. Even though we grew and have changed, we still mesh really well together, and I'm so thankful, so thankful. But like I said, I will leave some links down below for places you can go to find support. If you or someone you know is having a pregnancy that is unexpected and they need help, I'll link those below. Check those out. My email is always in the description box. If you are a young mom and you just need to talk, feel free to email me. I'm happy to write you back. If you have any questions about anything I said, drop them down below. I think I rambled plenty long, probably 30 minutes, I bet. But anyway, that's my story. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.